first time my daughter-in-law said, "Don't worry, I'll handle the bills." She said it with a smile so sweet it almost stung my eyes. But the morning I checked my bank account, every card was empty, and suddenly that smile felt like a knife I had handed her myself. I remember standing in the kitchen, still wearing my faded robe, staring at my phone as if the numbers would jump back to life. Zeros. All zeros. My breath went thin like someone pinched it right out of my chest. I whispered, "No, this can't be right." But deep inside, something in me knew. I just didn't want to believe it. I sat down at the table, hands trembling. I've been through a lot in life: loss, grief, betrayal, things that make a woman my age tough. But this felt personal. I stared at the doorway, half expecting them to walk in and tell me it was a misunderstanding. But the house was quiet. Too quiet. I folded my hands together, trying to steady myself. I waited for the hurt to settle. I let it sink in. It all started 2 months earlier, the day I moved into their home temporarily, I thought, after my knee surgery. My son, Michael, insisted. He said he wanted to help. His wife, Lauren, smiled the whole time she carried my bags in. A smile that looked warm. A smile I wanted to trust. A smile I should have questioned. The first night, when I reached for my purse to pay for groceries, Lauren gently pushed my hand back. "Oh no, Mom, don't worry," she chirped. "You're healing. I'll handle the bills." At the time it felt kind, thoughtful, a relief, but I should have noticed the way she lingered on my wallet, the way her eyes flit to the edge of my credit card holder, the way she walked extra slowly to the hallway, the one where I later found a camera pointed directly at the table where I kept my mail. I brushed it off. Women my age are always brushing things off. We're trained to be grateful for any piece we get, even if it's fake. I sat there quietly, feeling the unease creep in. The humiliation came a little later, one of those afternoons where the sun sets too early and makes the house feel cold. I had just finished my physical therapy exercises when I heard giggling in the living room. "Your mom is, well, she's sweet," Lauren said, "but she doesn't really understand how online banking works. It's probably better if I take care of everything." Michael chuckled. "Yeah, she's old school." Old school. They said it like a flaw, like a weakness. I stood there in the hallway unseen, leaning on my cane, listening to the two people I loved most talk about me like I was a burden they just realized they couldn't return. My face got hot. My chest tightened. I swallowed the bruise forming in my throat. When I stepped into the room, they went silent. Guilty silent. "Oh, Mom," Michael said, "we were just talking about how we're helping you. You don't have to worry about anything." Lauren leaned forward with that same sugary smile. "Just give me your cards and I'll organize everything. Trust me, I've got you." I didn't want to give her my cards, but Michael was watching me with those earnest eyes he used to have as a boy. So I agreed, against my better judgment, against my quiet instinct whispering, "Don't do it." I nodded slowly, pretending I didn't hear the insult beneath their voices. I let the moment settle inside me, heavier than I wanted to admit. The next weeks felt like drowning slowly. Anytime a bill arrived, Lauren intercepted it. Anytime my phone dinged with a notification, she was suddenly at my elbow. Anytime I tried to check my accounts, she'd say, "Oh, the bank app has been glitchy. I'll take care of it." I tried to argue once, just once. She put her hand on my shoulder and spoke to me like I was a child. "Relax, you're recovering. Let me handle the bills." But it never sat right. Not in my bones. Not in the air between us. I'd wake up some nights with my heart racing, certain something was wrong. I'd lie still, listening to the house breathe, listening to my doubt grow louder. One night, when everyone was asleep, I shuffled quietly into the kitchen. I opened the cabinet where I kept my mail and found it empty. Not a single envelope, not a single statement, just emptiness. It felt like someone took an eraser and rubbed away pieces of my life. I touched the wooden shelf, feeling the bare surface where my papers once were. I let the fear sink in for a moment, deep, cold, and then came the morning everything broke. I had made a little coffee for myself, leaning on the counter as the smell filled the room. The window light was soft, comforting. I thought maybe today would be normal, until I checked my bank app, until I saw the zeros, until I saw the overdraft notices, the transfers, the withdrawals. My heart hit the floor. The money I saved for my future, for emergencies, for my grandchildren, for my independence, gone. And worst of all, the transfers were tagged with a familiar name. Her name, Lauren. Every swipe, every withdrawal, every dollar bleeding out of my life led straight to her. I clutched the counter, forcing myself not to fall. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. "Lauren, oh, you're up early," she said cheerfully. "Did you sleep well?" I stared at her. I didn't trust my voice yet. She poured her coffee, humming like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just gutted my entire future. Then she turned, leaned against the counter, and spoke so casually it made my stomach twist. "By the way, I'm changing a few things with your accounts. Don't worry, I'll handle the bills." She smiled, a sweet venom-laced smile, and in that moment humiliation coated every inch of my skin. She thought I wouldn't fight back. She thought I was weak. She thought my age made me blind. If only she knew what I still had up my sleeve, what I had kept secret for years, what would turn all of this around. I took a slow breath. I let the truth settle, because she had no idea who she was about to challenge. But I had no idea what I was about to hear next. I wasn't always this tired, shaky version of myself, standing in my son's kitchen with an empty bank account and a heart full of shame. There was a time when I walked with purpose, a time when my voice mattered, before life had its way with me, before people mistook my age for weakness, before my own son forgot who raised him. I took a slow breath, the kind you take before opening a door you've kept locked for years, because if I was going to survive what was happening now, I needed to remember who I used to be. I sat down quietly, letting the old memories rise. I grew up in a small working-class neighborhood, the kind where everyone left their doors unlocked, and the sound of kids playing doubled as the town's music. My parents didn't have much, but they worked with pride. They taught me two things that built the backbone I still carry. You protect your family, and you protect your dignity. I carried those lessons through every heartbreak, every struggle, every long shift at jobs people look right through you for doing. But the moment that shaped me most wasn't any of that. It was the day I became a mother. That day changed everything. I still remember holding Michael in my arms. He was tiny, warm, and peaceful, until he wasn't. That boy had a scream that could shake the walls. But when he settled, he clutched my shirt and sighed like he knew I was his whole world. He didn't have a father around much. That part hurts to remember. But I worked double shifts. I packed lunches, read bedtime stories, cleaned scraped knees, and sang him to sleep even when my voice cracked from exhaustion. I raised him with everything I had. I gave him the boyhood I never had myself. And I let myself believe he would grow into a man who honored that. I paused, feeling the ache of old love. It was around his teenage years when I saw the first crack. Just a small one. Barely a scratch, really. He'd roll his eyes when I gave advice. He'd call me old-fashioned or extra careful. His friends bragged about money and new shoes, and suddenly the things I could afford for him didn't seem good enough. He wasn't cruel, just drifting, pulled forward by a world that moved faster than I ever could. One night he came home late, smelling like cheap beer and broken promises. I waited by the kitchen table, tired beyond measure. He stepped in, saw my face, and sighed dramatically. "Mom, it's not a big deal," I whispered. "You scared me." He softened then, apologized, even hugged me. But something in his eyes told me he was already standing halfway out the door of the life I had built for him. I felt that memory settle on my shoulders like dust. Years passed. He grew into a man who worked too much, slept too little, and wanted more out of life than he could afford. When he met Lauren, he fell hard. She was beautiful, confident, polished, everything I wasn't. I welcomed her with open arms the first time we met. I really did. I wanted my son to be loved, cherished, supported, and for a while she was sweet. But sweetness can be a mask, and masks eventually slip. It happened at a family barbecue. Michael had gone inside to fetch drinks, and Lauren leaned toward me with a smirk I'd never seen before. "You know," she whispered, "I'll help Michael manage things better once we're married. He's used to your slower way of doing things." I blinked, trying to make sense of the insult wrapped in honey. "My way has kept him alive," I said gently. "And well," she shrugged. "Times change." Her tone wasn't cruel. It was dismissive, the kind of tone people use when they've already decided you're irrelevant. I felt a shift then, a quiet one, barely noticeable, but real. I took a breath, letting the weight of that memory rest. When Michael first told me they wanted me to move in after my surgery, I was touched. I truly thought it was love, care, family unity. I even baked them a cake the night I arrived, a simple lemon pound cake, the one Michael always begged for as a boy. He barely glanced at it. "Lauren," she took one polite bite, then said, "Oh, that's sweet, but we're focusing on more modern diets now." Modern diets, modern banking, modern living. Everything I did or said seemed outdated to her, and Michael followed her lead like a shadow chasing the sun. Every day, small incidents chipped away at me. She rearranged my belongings without asking. She told neighbors I was adjusting to aging. She corrected me in conversations I wasn't wrong in. She insisted on handling anything that involved money, even my own prescriptions. I tried to stay grateful. I tried to be patient, but dignity erodes quietly until the day it collapses. I let myself feel the truth of that. So when she took my cards, under the pretty disguise of helping with bills, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust my son's wife. But the truth was simpler and sharper. She saw me as slow. She saw me as naive. She saw me as someone she could control, someone she could drain dry without consequence. But here's the thing Lauren never knew, couldn't have known. I wasn't just an aging woman living on savings. I wasn't just a grandmother who stitched quilts and kept recipes. I wasn't just a guest in her home. I had a past, a long, complicated, surprising past, one that came with a power she had no idea existed, a power I had kept hidden for decades, quietly, deliberately. And losing my money? That wasn't wasn't the end. It was the spark, the beginning of a fire she never saw coming. Because while she was busy underestimating me, counting on my silence, my confusion, my age, I was already remembering exactly who I used to be, and I was ready to rise again. But I had no idea the discovery I was about to make next would change everything. I didn't plan to overhear anything that morning. I was simply moving slower than usual, cane tapping lightly against the hardwood. But sometimes God lets a woman hear exactly what she needs at the moment she needs it most. My son and his wife were in the dining room. The table was set with almonds, berries, and those tiny oat muffins Lauren called breakfast. They spoke softly at first, but when a person thinks you're too old to walk quietly, they stop whispering. I can't believe she still hasn't noticed, Lauren said, laughing under her breath. Michael chuckled. Mom never checks anything. She trusts too easily. My heart thudded once. Heart. Trust too easily. As if trust were a flaw. As if love were stupidity. I paused in the hallway just out of view, letting their words float like dust. She's lucky we're helping, Lauren continued. If she handled her own bills, she'd probably forget something important. This way is better. Yeah, Michael agreed. And honestly, it's nice not to have her meddling. Meddling. My son said meddling. About me. The woman who raised him alone. The woman who worked 2 jobs so he could go to summer camps. The woman who stayed up nights during flu seasons, checking his temperature every hour. I swallowed the sting. I let it settle slow like rain sinking into soil. Later that week, we were getting ready for a family dinner at my niece's place. I was excited, truly excited, because it had been years since we'd all been together. I put on my soft lavender dress, the one Michael once said made me look like sunshine. I curled my hair the way I used to when he was a child, back when he watched me get ready with bright, admiring eyes. But the moment I walked into the living room, Lauren frowned. Oh, she said, you're wearing that? Her tone wasn't sharp. It was worse. It was masked concern, the kind people use when they pretend to help but actually wound you. I like this dress, I said gently. It's fine, she replied, eyeing Michael, but maybe something more neutral. It's just we don't want too much attention. Too much attention? I hadn't been the center of anything in years. Not since my husband passed. Not since retirement. Not since my body started shifting into the shape of a woman time had visited often. Michael didn't defend me. He didn't even look at me. He simply said, we're running late, Mom. Just grab something simple. I forced a smile. I went back to my room. I changed into a gray cardigan, a plain blouse, clothes that made me invisible. And as I buttoned the last button, I whispered to myself, you matter, even if they don't see it. I sat on the edge of the bed, letting that truth settle. The car ride that night stung deeper. Michael drove. Lauren sat in the passenger seat. They spoke softly about work, fitness classes, weekend plans, all the things I was never included in. I sat in the back, literally, like a child needing supervision. I stared at the back of their heads, remembering when Michael used to hold my hand across parking lots, telling me he'd protect me forever. Now I was just a shadow behind them. Halfway there, I cleared my throat. I can help with gas money, I offered softly. I know driving me around. Lauren cut me off. No, Mom, you don't need to worry about money anymore. We're handling that. I felt the edges of her meaning, not kindness, control. The rest of the ride stayed quiet. I pressed my hands together and stared out the window at the streetlights passing like falling stars. I let the silence sink in. The next week was when everything shifted. I walked into the kitchen to make tea. Lauren was at the table, laptop open, cup of iced coffee beside her, nails tapping rapidly. She didn't notice me at first. She was on a call. Yes, transfer the rest, she said. She won't check. She never does. My pulse jumped. Yes, to the joint card. Just move it before she sees anything. I froze. Joint card? The joint card? The one they opened for household purchases? My throat tightened. I stepped back quietly. She still hadn't noticed me. Yes, it's her funds, she said, but we need everything together for the house. Besides, she'll be gone soon enough. Gone. Soon enough. Those words sliced through me sharper than any betrayal. My hands trembled around the door frame. I backed away slowly, careful not to make a sound. When I reached my room, I shut the door softly, leaned against it, and let my body sink down until I was sitting on the floor. Tears stung, but they didn't fall. Not yet. Instead, I breathed. Long, slow, deep, because another realization crept in, cold and heavy. They weren't just managing my money. They were planning something bigger, something long-term, something that involved me disappearing from their daily life, and maybe from my own decisions. I whispered into the quiet room. They think I'm weak, but inside me, something shifted. Something old, something familiar, something strong. A spark. A few days later, I found the clue that almost broke me and saved me at the same time. I was folding laundry in their bedroom because Lauren had said I needed to contribute somehow. As I reached for a towel, a paper slid out from between 2 shirts. First, I didn't think much of it. Just a folded sheet, probably probably junk, but something made me look twice. A hollow kind of instinct. I opened it, and the breath left my body. It was an insurance form, a financial directive, a document naming my son and daughter-in-law as authorized controllers of my accounts in the event of diminished capacity. Diminished capacity. Diminished. As if aging automatically meant incompetence. My name was printed at the top. My signature line was blank, but theirs were already signed, notarized even, and the date was recent, very recent. My heart hammered, my vision blurred. I sank onto the edge of their bed. This was more than disrespect. This was a plan, a coordinated, cruel plan to take over my life one helpful step at a time. I closed my eyes. I let the truth settle into my bones. But here's the thing about women like me. Women life has tried to break. We bend, we shake, we fall to our knees sometimes, but we do not stay down. And I wasn't about to start now, especially because Lauren had made one mistake. One small, fatal mistake. She didn't know the part of my past I never talked about. The part that gave me power she couldn't imagine. The part that was going to turn all of this around. But I had no idea that the proof I found next would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. Not 1 minute. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the insurance document heavy in my hands, the words diminished capacity circling my mind like vultures waiting for something to die. They wanted control, total control, of my accounts, my decisions, my future, and they were building the paper trail to make it happen. I turned the papers over again and again, looking for a mistake, a loophole, a sign that I was misunderstanding. But no, there it was, clear, undeniable, my son's signature, Lauren's signature, and the blank space where they intended mine to go. I held the edge of the page, letting the betrayal settle slow and deep. The next morning, the house felt different, quiet in a suspicious way, still like everything was waiting for something to break. I moved slower intentionally. Women my age know that pretending to be fragile is sometimes the best way to see the truth. I walked into the kitchen. Lauren was already there, hair perfect, smile stiff. "Morning," she said lightly. "Sleep okay?" "Not much," I answered. "Oh," she replied in a tone that wasn't concerned. "Well, you really should rest. We've got a lot to tackle this week." A lot to tackle. I already knew what that meant. My accounts, my papers, my independence. I stirred my tea quietly. I waited for the moment she looked away. I let the silence sink in. Later that afternoon, I heard something I will never forget. Michael had come home early. Lauren met him in the entry hallway, whispering in a tone too sharp to be loving. I was in the guest room, door cracked open, enough to see shadows, not faces, enough to hear. "You need to get her to sign it," Lauren hissed. "The lawyer said we can't proceed without her signature." Michael sighed. "I know, but she's suspicious. She's been acting weird." Acting weird? Yes, imagine that. A woman acting strange after her life is stolen out from under her. Lauren stepped closer to him. "She's old, babe. She's overwhelmed. Use that. Sit with her tonight. Tell her it's just routine paperwork. Make her comfortable." I felt my stomach turn. "And if she still refuses?" Michael asked quietly. "Then we push harder," Lauren said. "Enough hand-holding. We need her accounts combined before the move." "Move? Move where? Move me where?" My fingers tightened around the cane. Michael hesitated. I don't want to hurt her." Lauren's voice turned cold. "Stop being sentimental. She's had her life. Now it's our turn." My breath left me. "She's had her life." That line wrapped around my chest like barbed wire. I pressed my hand against my heart, steadying the ache. I let the cruelty settle, and then something in me hardened. That evening at dinner, Lauren put on her sweetest voice. "Mom, after we eat, Michael and I want to go over some household forms with you. Just simple stuff." I lifted my eyes to her. "I'm a little tired tonight," I said. "Maybe tomorrow." Her smile dropped half a centimeter, barely noticeable, but I saw it. Her jaw tensed. Her fingers tightened around her fork. "Oh," she forced out. "Of course, tomorrow is fine." But it wasn't fine. Not for her. Not for whatever timeline they were working on. Michael didn't look at me once during dinner. He pushed food around his plate like a nervous child. Every now and then, he shot Lauren a worried glance, as if asking what to do next. I ate slowly. I let the quiet build around us. That night, after they went to bed, I slid out of my room. Just a slow shuffle, blanket wrapped around my shoulders, cane in hand. I moved toward Michael's office, the small room he used to play video games in as a boy. The door was cracked, and inside they were arguing. Low, sharp voices. "She's stalling," Lauren said through clenched teeth. "We can't let her. The bank needs those signatures by Friday." Friday, a deadline. Michael rubbed his face. "I don't like lying to her." Lauren groaned in frustration. "This is not lying. This is securing our future. You want kids, right? A bigger house? Money doesn't fall from the sky." "But it's her savings," Michael said quietly. "Exactly," Lauren snapped. "Savings she won't even use. She's not traveling. She's not going anywhere. She just sits around. What's she going to do with it?" I pressed my hand against my mouth. My body shook. Not with fear, but with something sharper, older, hotter, righteous anger. Lauren continued, voice low and vicious. She doesn't need that money. We do. And then, the worst line of them all, she won't fight it. Old people never do. I closed my eyes. I leaned my forehead against the wall outside the door. Old people never fight. She didn't know my history. She didn't know my spine. She didn't know the battles I had fought alone, the storms I had survived. Most of all, she didn't know the secret I still carried. Something stronger than age, stronger than their scheme, strong enough to flip everything in my favor. But I wasn't ready to reveal it yet, not until I had every piece of proof. So I backed away quietly, returned to my room, sat in the darkness, let everything sink in slowly, painfully, completely. The next morning, the tension was thick enough to chew. Lauren hovered around me like a vulture circling a weakening animal. Coffee? Want help with your emails? Did you sleep okay? Her voice was honey-covered poison. Michael barely made eye contact. Shame flickered in his eyes, but not enough to stop him, not enough to protect me. And then just as I turned to go back to my room, I heard it. A notification. Lauren's phone vibrated on the counter. She picked it up, read the message, and smiled. A cold, victorious smile. Perfect, she whispered. Everything is ready for Friday. That was it. That was the moment I knew. I had no more time to wait. If they wanted Friday, then Thursday would be mine. Because Lauren thought she was the smartest woman in the house. But she didn't know my past. She didn't know what skill I still had. She didn't know what documents I had access to. She didn't know the friend, the powerful ally I could still call. And she didn't know what I had just overheard. But I had no idea that the next clue, the one I stumbled upon by accident, would set my entire revenge into motion. Thursday morning arrived like a warning bell. I woke up before sunrise, my heartbeat steady but strong, the kind of rhythm a woman feels when she knows she's standing at the edge of a turning point. The sky outside was dim blue, and the house was quiet enough to hear the hum of the refrigerator. I sat at the edge of the bed and whispered, "Today you begin. Not revenge, not anger, not even justice. Truth, just truth. Because when truth arrives, liars crumble without you lifting a single hand." I stood slowly, letting my knee warm up. I reached for my cane, out of habit, not need, and stepped softly into the hallway. I paused, listened. Lauren was still asleep. Michael's room was silent. Good. I walked toward the kitchen, and that's when I saw it. A brown envelope, unsealed, left carelessly on the counter, as if the universe itself nudged it into my path. And on the front, bold as day, legal review, final draft. My breath hitched. I checked over my shoulder. Still quiet. Picked it up carefully, not trembling this time. Steady, ready. Inside the envelope was the exact truth I'd been preparing myself for, and the exact proof I needed. The first document was a guardianship request, not for a child, for me. A petition stating that I was showing signs of confusion, forgetfulness, and impaired judgment. Impaired judgment. Lauren's handwriting filled the margins with notes like, use examples, misplaced jewelry, asking repetitive questions. Misplaced jewelry? My bracelets were in the same drawer they've been in for 10 years. Repetitive questions? I asked once, just once, why my bank app wouldn't open. Because she locked me out. I pressed my hand to my chest. The paper trembled, not because I was weak, but because I was furious. I turned the page. The next document listed projected financial reallocations after guardianship approval, which included draining the remaining funds in my retirement and transferring assets for the improvement and stability of the household. My assets, my life savings, my decades of sacrifice, the improvements, a new deck for their house, a refinance on their car, a planned European dream trip. I closed my eyes. I let the truth wash over me like hot water. They didn't want to help me. They wanted to use me, control me, extract value until nothing was left. But the universe wasn't done. At the bottom of the stack was the final blow. A printed email from Lauren to Attorney Harris. Subject, urgent. If she doesn't sign, proceed anyway. The email read, she's old, easily confused, and won't know what she's signing. If she pushes back, my husband will convince her. We need this done by Friday. She's moving out next month, ideally into supervised care. Once that's set, we'll finish the rest of the financial transition. Supervised care. They were planning to put me away, silence me, take everything I had, and push me into some facility where I would disappear quietly. My stomach twisted with grief, deep maternal grief. This was my son, my child, my baby who used to wrap his tiny hand around my finger and fall asleep, my boy who cried when he lost a soccer game, my young man who once promised he'd take care of me when I grew old. What happened to him? I sat down at the table. I let myself feel it, all of it, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the humiliation, the cold, cutting reality. Then I took a long breath, and just like that, a switch flipped inside me. Steady, cold, focused, because I remembered the thing Lauren never saw coming, the part of my past I kept hidden. The mistake she made was assuming I lived a simple life, that I was a sweet, aging working woman with crochet needles and a pension. But before marriage, before motherhood, before life pushed me into quiet corners, I used to work as an administrative assistant for a law office. Not just any law office. A small, respected firm known for elder rights, estate protection, and financial disputes. I spent 25 years in that office, which meant I knew every trick, every clause, every signature requirement, every loophole, every sign of manipulation, every red flag Lauren thought I'd never understand. And more importantly, I still had connections, people who respected me, people who knew my work, people who trusted me long before my son ever let his wife speak for me, including one man in particular, someone I hadn't called in years, someone who told me when I retired, if you ever need anything, you call me. Attorney Davis, sharp, ethical, a bulldog in court, a man Lauren didn't know existed, my hidden ally, my quiet, powerful ace. So I took the envelope to my room, closed the door gently, sat at the desk, and then I pulled out the old flip phone I kept in my suitcase, the one no one knew about, not my son, not Lauren, not anyone, a phone I kept after retirement, with a single number memorized. I dialed. It rang twice. Then a familiar voice answered, warm and steady. Hello? This is Davis. I exhaled shakily. It's me, I whispered. Do you remember who I am? A beat of silence, then a soft laugh. Of course I do. You trained half my paralegals. What's going on? I swallowed. I need help, I said. I'm in trouble. Bad trouble. His tone shifted, firm, alert. What happened? They're trying to take my accounts, I whispered. All of them. They forged paperwork. They're trying to get guardianship. They plan to put me away. There was no pause, no hesitation. Where are you? He demanded. With my son and his wife. Are you safe? For now. Good. Listen carefully, he said. I'm coming to you. I'll be there this afternoon. Don't sign anything. Don't confront them. Don't let them know you know. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. And bring every document you have, he added. Every scrap, every envelope. We're going to bury this. A slow, powerful relief spread through me. For the first time in weeks, I felt protected. Not by Michael, not by Lauren, by someone who respected me, someone who refused to let me be destroyed. I ended the call, sat still, hands folded. I let the strength return to my bones, because suddenly, I wasn't alone. And Lauren, she was about to learn she picked the wrong grandmother to underestimate. But I had no idea the information my old colleague would bring with him would turn my quiet plan into a full-blown storm. Attorney Davis arrived just after noon. I heard the knock, firm, confident, nothing like the light taps of delivery drivers or neighbors, the kind of knock that announces authority. I opened the door slowly. There he was, older than I remembered, with silver hair and deep lines on his face, but his eyes, sharp as ever, alert, protective. Let's step outside, he said quietly. We shouldn't talk in there. I nodded, slipping on my shoes. We walked to his car, an old Navy sedan he'd had since the late 90s, and climbed inside. The moment the doors shut, he turned to me. Show me everything. I handed him the brown envelope. He read in silence. With each page he turned, the muscles in his jaw tightened. By the time he reached the email printout, his expression had shifted entirely, from concern to something darker. Unbelievable, he muttered. They really thought they could get away with this. I swallowed. I didn't want to believe my own son. Your son is being manipulated, he said firmly. But she knows exactly what she's doing. He tapped the guardianship petition. This is fraud, he said. Those examples she wrote in the margins, not evidence, not provable, not legal grounds for anything. He turned another page. And this financial reallocation? He scoffed. Laughable. Judges shut this down in 2 minutes. I closed my eyes, letting the words soothe a part of my spirit that had been shaking for weeks. Then why did the attorney she contacted push the paperwork through? I asked. Davis sighed. Some lawyers don't ask questions as long as the fee clears. And some, well, they play dirty. He closed the folder gently. But they made mistakes, he said. Big ones. Mistakes. I repeated the words silently. Mistakes are how liars fall. Tell me everything, I whispered. He nodded. The signatures they used aren't valid, he said. They signed their own names without yours present. That alone makes it illegal. I bit my lip. And the document they wanted me to sign? Also invalid, he replied. Once I file a protective order and notify the court, guardianship proceedings stop immediately. I breathed out slowly, almost shakily. Are you saying they can't touch anything? He smiled, small but full of assurance. I'm saying they messed with the wrong grandmother. I laughed then, quietly, relief mixing with disbelief. Davis opened his briefcase and took out a new folder. Now, he said, here's what we're going to do. My heart steadied. I leaned in. Listen. Step 1, Davis said. I'll file an injunction to freeze any changes to your accounts that prevents them from moving money, closing cards, or adding their names to anything. I nodded slowly. Step 2, he continued. We'll create a new financial directive, one you control, naming a neutral third party to oversee things temporarily. entirely. A third party? I repeated. Yes, my associate Ms. Green, he said. She's sharp, trustworthy. She'll act in your best interest until everything is settled. Warmth spread through me. Someone on my side. Someone who saw me. Someone who didn't treat me like I was invisible. And step 3, Davis added, lowering his voice. We gather every piece of evidence, and I mean everything, because we're not just blocking their plan. He paused. We're going to flip it on them. My heart skipped. Flip it? How? I whispered. He pulled out a small digital recorder. Did you overhear anything? He asked. Anything suggesting intent, coercion, financial manipulation? I nodded slowly. Yes, a lot. He leaned closer. Good. Write down every word you remember. Exact phrases if you can. I took a slow breath. I can. He opened a second folder, thick, heavy, full of documents already prepared. I drafted a cease and desist letter, a revocation of access, and a notice of financial boundary violations. Once signed, these become legally binding. I blinked. All of this in one morning? He shrugged modestly. I work fast when someone messes with one of my own. One of his own. My throat tightened. I looked out the car window. The house seemed smaller now, less powerful, more fragile, because now I wasn't trapped in it. Now I had a shield. Now I had a voice. And for the first time in a long time, I had a plan. Before we went back inside, Davis reached into his jacket and pulled out something small. A button. A smooth black button with a pin on the back. What's this? I asked. A recorder, he said. Hidden. Discreet. Tap the front twice to start, twice to stop. I hesitated. You want me to record them? No, he said softly. I want you to protect yourself. If they try to force you into signing anything, if they pressure you, we'll have proof. I stared at the pin. A recording device. A secret shield. A truth catcher. I clipped it onto my sweater. Something in me ignited. Not fire, not rage, but something older and stronger. Resolve. We went back into the house together. Lauren was in the kitchen preparing a smoothie, eyebrows arching the moment she saw us. Oh, she said with fake surprise. A visitor? Yes, I answered calmly. A friend. She looked at Davis with a tight smile. And what brings you here? He returned her smile, polite, disarming, but cold as steel beneath. I'm here for her, he said simply. Lauren's eyes flicked to me, then to the folder in Davis's hand. A flicker of fear crossed her face. Just a flicker, but I saw it. Michael came down the stairs then. Mom, what's going on? I looked at him, really looked, and felt both sadness and strength rise inside me. Nothing you need to worry about, I said softly. I'm just handling some paperwork. The irony wasn't lost on me. Lauren opened her mouth, about to object, but Davis stepped forward slightly. Mrs. Collins, he said to her, I'm going to ask that you refrain from interfering while I speak privately with my client. Client. That word hit her like a blow. Her smile cracked. Michael looked confused. Lauren looked terrified. And me? For the first time in weeks, I felt powerful, but I stayed quiet, dignified, patient, because dignity is a woman's oldest weapon, and truth is her sharpest. We walked toward my room, folder in hand, recorder pinned, plan forming. But little did I know, the real confrontation was coming, and it would be far more public than I ever imagined. The invitation had been sitting on the counter for weeks, a charity dinner Lauren had been bragging about non-stop. Everyone will be there, she kept saying. The perfect networking opportunity. I never planned to attend, but after everything Davis uncovered, after the evidence, after the plan we had quietly built together, it became the perfect stage. Public. Witnesses everywhere. Cameras. Donors. Executives. Lauren's entire social circle. Exactly the kind of place where appearances mattered more than truth, until the truth walks in wearing dignity like armor. I didn't tell Lauren I was coming. I didn't tell Michael either, but the moment I walked through the banquet hall doors, heads turned. The soft lights shimmered across the room. Crystal glasses clinked. Women in gold dresses drifted like honey. Men in suits leaned too confidently on their chairs. And there they were, my son and his wife standing near the stage, laughing with a group of well-dressed strangers. That laugh, Lauren's laugh, cut through the room like a blade. Sharp, confident, smug. She truly thought Friday was hers. She truly thought she had control. She truly thought I was clueless. I stood taller, let the moment settle. Then Davis walked in behind me. His presence was quiet but powerful, like a storm cloud in a blue sky. His briefcase clicked shut as he reached my side. You ready? He asked. I nodded. More than ready. We walked together toward the group, each step measured, slow, deliberate. I wasn't shaking anymore, not trembling, not holding my breath. I felt grounded, rooted, alive. When Michael finally saw me, his face shifted. Surprise first, then confusion, then something else, something like guilt. Mom, he stuttered. What are you doing here? Lauren turned, and her expression was a masterpiece of shock and fury. Oh, you made it, she said tightly. You didn't tell us you were coming. I wasn't sure until last minute, I replied. Her eyes flicked to Davis. Suspicion crackled in the air. Who's this? My attorney, I answered simply. The circle around us went went silent. Even the room seemed to hush. A few guests turned their heads, curiosity sparking. Whispers drifted like smoke. Attorney. That word always shifts power. Lauren's smile twitched. Your attorney? For what? Davis stepped forward with a calm confidence that made her visibly tense. I'm here on behalf of my client, he said, regarding matters concerning her financial safety and personal autonomy. Michael blinked. Financial what? Mom, what's going on? I looked at him, my son, my boy, and felt an ache twist deep in my chest. Something you should have protected me from, I said softly. He flinched. Lauren clutched his arm. Her voice hardened. This is unnecessary. Everything is perfectly under control. Yes, Davis said smoothly, but not by you. A small crowd started forming around us. People pretended to sip drinks but kept watching. The charity host paused mid-sentence on stage. Perfect. Lauren straightened her shoulders. Whatever you think you know, you're mistaken. I reached into my purse and pulled out the brown envelope, the one she had carelessly left out, the one that exposed everything. Her eyes widened, just a little. Enough. I opened it slowly, page by page, deliberate, measured, unhurried. Then I lifted the guardianship request. Is this mistaken? I asked. The color drained from her face. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Michael stepped closer, eyes scanning the page. Lauren, what is this? She stuttered. It's just preliminary paperwork. Nothing serious. Preliminary, Davis repeated, raising his brow. Funny, since it includes a notarized signature and falsified evidence. More whispers. Someone actually dropped a glass. Lauren swayed slightly, then caught herself. Okay, calm down. This is being taken out of context. I was just organizing things for the future. For her future? I asked sharply. Or yours? Her jaw clenched. I pulled out the next document, the financial reallocation plan. And this? A list of ways to spend my savings on your lifestyle upgrades. Michael grabbed the paper from my hand, eyes wide. Lauren, this says $48,000 for a trip to Europe. She snatched it from him. That was hypothetical. And this? I held up the email that said to proceed even if I refused. The email that said I was easily confused. The email that said I would be gone soon enough. Silence struck the room like thunder. Lauren stumbled back. I didn't write. You're twisting. This is enough, I said. My voice wasn't loud. Didn't need to be. It carried, deep, steady, unshakable. I heard your conversations. I saw your plans. You wanted my money, my signature, my life. People murmured. Some glared. Some gasped. Michael's face crumpled. Lauren, tell me you didn't. I did it for US, she shouted, finally cracking. For our future. She doesn't need the money. She barely uses it. She earned it, Davis interjected. Every cent. Lauren turned on him. She's old. She doesn't know how to manage. And that was her final mistake, because the crowd went still. Every older guest in the room stiffened. Every younger guest frowned. Ageism, cruelty, entitlement. Her mask shattered. I took a breath, then spoke. I may be old, I said quietly, but I'm not blind. I'm not confused, and I'm not yours to control. Lauren looked around frantically. No allies, no smiles, no support, only judgment, only truth. Davis stepped forward. Mrs. Collins, he said, you are now legally barred from accessing her accounts, property, or medical decisions. Gasps. Lauren's knees buckled. And any attempt to coerce her again, he continued, will be met with criminal charges. Lauren trembled, truly trembled, but I stayed still, dignified, the way women like me survive storms. I touched the small recorder pinned to my blouse. It's over, I said softly, and for Lauren, it was. But for me, this was only the beginning of reclaiming my life. Yet I had no idea the emotional fallout waiting at home would hurt even more than this public reckoning. The car ride home from the charity dinner was silent. Not the peaceful kind, not the tired kind, the kind of silence that makes your breath catch in your chest because the truth finally has room to echo. Michael drove, hands trembling on the steering wheel, eyes glossy, staring straight ahead like the world had just tilted beneath him. Lauren sat rigid in the passenger seat, jaw clenched so tight it looked painful. Her perfect posture had wilted, her lipstick smudged, her confidence gone like smoke in a cold wind. I sat in the back, the place they always put me, but now I didn't feel small. For the first time since moving into their home, I felt seen. Not because I wanted a victory, not because I wanted an audience, but because I had survived something designed to bury me. I folded my hands in my lap. I let the silence sink in. Halfway home, Michael finally spoke. Mom, his voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you come to me first? I looked at the back of his head, the head I used to ruffle when he was a child, the head I pressed kisses onto after every scraped knee. You weren't listening, I said softly. He shuddered. Mom, I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know she was doing all that. Lauren whipped around, tears streaming down her face, but not tears of remorse, tears of exposure, tears of humiliation. I was trying to help us, she snapped. You think living on your salary is enough? You think raising having a family is cheap? She has money she doesn't even use. That is not your money, Michael shouted. His voice shook the entire car. Lauren flinched, stunned. Michael had never raised his voice to her. Not once. Until tonight. I stayed silent. This wasn't my scene to direct. This was a consequence writing its own lines. Lauren sniffed hard, wiping angrily at her own tears. So what? You're taking her side now, she spat. Michael swallowed. His voice dropped. I'm taking the side of what's right, she scoffed, turning forward again. But I caught her reflection in the windshield, anger swirling behind her eyes like a storm waiting to strike again. The kind of anger that doesn't learn, doesn't grow, doesn't soften, the kind that blames everyone but itself. I sighed inwardly. This wasn't over. Not for her, but it was over for me. We pulled into the driveway. The porch light glowed weakly, illuminating the cracks in the walkway. Cracks I'd noticed weeks ago, before my world had cracked too. I stepped out of the car slowly. My knees ached from the long evening. Michael rushed to my side. Mom, let me help. I shook my head gently. No, sweetheart. I've helped myself today. He froze. The weight of that truth hit him hard. Inside the house, the silence felt heavier. The walls remembered everything. The lies, the whispers, the humiliations. Lauren stormed into the living room, arms folded, pacing like a trapped animal. This is ridiculous, she barked. You made us look insane in front of everyone. You ruined everything. No, I said calmly. Truth ruined your plans. I simply brought it into the light. Michael sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. Why didn't I see it? He whispered. Why did I let this happen? His voice broke me a little. Because mothers know their sons, even when their sons forget them. I sat beside him gently. You wanted to believe the best in your wife, I said. It's not wrong to trust. It's wrong when trust is abused. He nodded slowly. Tears slid down his cheeks. Lauren scoffed loudly. Oh, spare me. She's manipulating you now. That's what old people do. Michael shot up so quickly she flinched. Don't talk about her like that, he snapped. Not after everything. She blinked at him, shocked. The dynamic had shifted. Power had changed hands, and not because of me. Because of truth. I stayed still, letting them feel the weight of their choices. Michael finally turned to me. Mom, I want you to stay with me. Not in that guest room. With me. I won't let her. I put up a hand. Soft. Steady. No, baby. He froze. I'm not staying here anymore. Lauren smirked as if she'd won something, until I continued. I'm leaving on my terms, not yours. And not because of your paperwork or your plans, but because I deserve peace. Lauren's smirk vanished. Michael blinked rapidly. Where will you go? To a place where I'm respected, I answered. And I'll be just fine. I promise. The strength in my voice wasn't loud. It was lived in. A lifetime of storms survived. A lifetime of rebuilding. A lifetime of getting back up. I reached for my purse. I'll pack a few things tonight, I added. Davis already arranged the rest. Michael nodded slowly, devastated but understanding. Mom, can I still see you? He whispered. I touched his cheek gently. You'll always be my son. You can see me whenever your heart is honest. He cried harder then. Not loudly, not dramatically. The quiet kind of cry men let out when the truth has finally broken through their denial. I let him lean into me, held him like I did when he was small. Lauren watched, arms crossed, expression tightening with jealousy and fear. She finally realized she lost control. Not because I fought her, but because she underestimated the strength that comes with age, dignity, and truth. Later that night, I packed my things. Just a small suitcase, clothes, a family photo, my journal, my old recipe book, things that matter, things untouched by betrayal. Before leaving, I placed one thing on the kitchen table, a small handwritten note. Thank you for teaching me exactly when to reclaim my life. I stood in the doorway, took one last look at the house, then I stepped into the night. The air felt cool against my skin, freeing, light. I inhaled deeply, and as I walked to Davis's car waiting at the curb, I whispered, this is not the end. This is the beginning. But I had no idea the next days would bring an emotional storm of apologies, guilt, and choices I wasn't sure I was ready to make. And tomorrow my son would show up at my door. The morning after I left their house, I woke up in the small guest room Attorney Davis arranged for me at his late sister's cottage. Quiet place, a safe place, a place where the air smelled like pine and the curtains swayed softly with every breeze. It felt like breathing again after weeks underwater. I made myself tea and stepped onto the porch. The wooden boards creaked beneath my slippers. The sun wasn't fully up yet, just a golden edge peeking over the treetops. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel watched, didn't feel judged, didn't feel dismissed. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup and let out a long breath. I'm free, I whispered, but peace doesn't come without echoes. And guilt always finds a way back. I felt the ache of it settle behind my ribs, the ache for my son, because no matter how grown they become, a mother's heart never stops reaching. I sat there quietly, letting that truth sink in. Around noon, a car pulled into the gravel driveway, dusty, familiar, shaky, and it stopped. Michael. He stepped out slowly, shoulders slumped, eyes swollen like he hadn't slept. He spotted me on the porch and froze. Mom! His voice cracked in a way that made something inside me break open. He walked toward me, hesitant, almost afraid, as if he wasn't sure whether he had the right to come any closer. When he reached the steps, he paused. Can I come up? I nodded slowly. He climbed the steps one by one, like each one carried the weight of a confession. I offered him a seat beside me. He sat, head lowered, hands shaking in his lap. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Only the wind did, moving gently through the trees. Finally, he inhaled sharply. Mom, I'm so sorry. His voice broke completely. He covered his face with both hands and cried. Not the quiet, restrained tears from last night. Not shame. Not embarrassment. Real grief. Raw grief. He sobbed like a child who realized he had hurt the one person who loved him most. I placed a hand on his back, softly, gently, the way I used to when he cried after nightmares. He leaned into the touch, shoulders trembling. When he finally caught his breath, he wiped his face and whispered, I can't believe what she did. I can't believe I let her do it. I shook my head. Michael, betrayal doesn't start big. Starts with small things. A tone. A lie. A moment you don't question. He swallowed hard. But I should have seen it. I should have known. I should have protected you. I looked at him, really looked at the boy I raised buried inside the man he became. You were trying to protect the life you built, I said. There is no shame in loving someone, even someone unworthy. He squeezed his eyes shut. A tear slid down his cheek. I failed you, he whispered. I took his hand, the same hand I had held crossing streets decades ago. No, you lost your way, and you found it again. That's what matters. He breathed out shakily. Mom, I left her. I froze. He continued, voice trembling. I packed a bag and went to my friend's place. I can't stay with someone who tried to destroy you. I can't even look at her right now. A wave of sadness and relief washed over me at the same time. Michael, marriage isn't simple, I said gently. Leaving is a big decision. He shook his head. This isn't just a fight. She tried to steal from you. She tried to control you. She lied to me every single day. She planned to put you away like you were nothing. His voice rose with anger. Anger at her. Anger at himself. Anger at the blindness love had created. I won't be married to someone who treats my mother like that, he said. I won't let anyone hurt you again. I touched his cheek. My hand trembled, because hearing that, after weeks of feeling invisible, stitched together pieces of my heart I didn't know were still torn. Thank you, I whispered. He leaned into my palm like he had as a little boy. We sat there quietly for a few minutes. The sun climbed higher. Birds flitted through the branches. A soft breeze carried the scent of earth and pine needles. Finally, he spoke again. Where will you go now? He asked. Do you want to come back home with me? Just me. She's gone. I looked at him tenderly. Baby, I love you, but going back into that house right now would feel like stepping backward. He nodded, tears welling again. I understand. He did. Truly. And I need something too, I said softly. He turned to me, waiting. I need boundaries. He blinked. Boundaries. Yes, I said. Not walls. Not punishment. Just space for respect. For honesty. For us to rebuild what was damaged. He nodded slowly. I'll do whatever it takes. I believed him, because something in his eyes shifted. The fog had lifted. The spell broken. His loyalty had returned to its rightful place. Mom, he whispered, can you forgive me? I took a deep breath. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not instant healing. Forgiveness is a bridge, one you choose to build even if you're not ready to cross it yet. Yes, I said softly, but forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It means we walk forward with care. He nodded, understanding. I wrapped my arms around him. He held me tighter than he had in years. For a moment, time folded, and I was holding my little boy again, the one who used to bury his face in my neck when he was scared. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for not giving up on me. I closed my eyes, letting the warmth settle. I never will, I whispered. When he finally stood to leave, he hesitated at the steps. Mom, he said softly. Yes. He rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous habit since childhood. If you ever need anything, ever promise you'll call me? Don't carry things alone anymore. I smiled gently. I promise. He nodded, tears glistening again. Then he turned and walked to his car. Before opening the door, he looked back. His voice shook. I love you, Mom. My throat tightened. I love you too, baby. He drove away slowly, leaving a trail of dust behind him, but this time not a trail of hurt, a trail of hope, because wounds can heal, relationships can mend, truth can rebuild what lies try to shatter. But I didn't yet know. The final chapter of this story would lead me to a new life I never expected. The cottage became my sanctuary, a place where birdsong replaced arguments, where sunlight kissed the wooden floors each morning, and where I finally felt like my life belonged to me again, not to someone else's plans. I spent the first week simply breathing, letting my shoulders loosen, letting my heart settle back into my chest. Some pains take time to drain drain out of the body. Some betrayals echo even after forgiveness, but peace eventually fills the spaces betrayal used to occupy. Each morning I'd sit on the porch wrapped in a shawl, sipping tea, watching the world wake up around me. And with each sunrise I whispered, "You made it," because survival at my age isn't just breathing, it's choosing to keep going. I started rediscovering pieces of myself I had lost. The little things. I baked again, the warm cinnamon smell drifting through the cottage like an old friend. I read mystery novels until midnight. I planted flowers in small pots outside the porch, lavender, basil, marigolds, each one growing under my hands like hope given form. One afternoon, while digging my fingers into fresh soil, I realized something. I wasn't lonely. I had myself, and for the first time in a long time, that was enough. I sat there quietly, letting the warmth of that truth sink in. Attorney Davis visited often, usually holding bags of groceries or new documents to sign. Every time he checked on me like a brother would. "You're stronger than half my clients," he'd say, shaking his head. "I knew that from the first day I met you." I'd laugh, brushing dirt off my apron. "You're just saying that." "No," he'd reply. "I've seen women half your age crumble at a fraction of what you endured." I would smile, soft and grateful, because encouragement hits differently when it comes from someone who knows your whole truth. He wasn't family, but he became something close, a steady presence, a reminder that good people still exist. And I wasn't done being a good person either. A few weeks later, I found something that felt like destiny, a flyer pinned to the community board at a small grocery store. Local schools needed volunteer readers for Children's Story Hour. My heart lifted. Reading had always been my escape, and storytelling had always been my quiet passion. When Michael was little, he'd curl against me as I read him adventures from tattered library books. I stood there holding that flyer, feeling something warm unfold inside my chest. Purpose. I called the number. By the next week, I stood in a small room filled with colorful rugs, tiny chairs, and wide-eyed children waiting to hear a story from Miss Marie. That's when I realized this wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I mattered again, where my voice carried warmth, not worry, where children listened with open hearts, not suspicion, where I felt valued, deeply, genuinely valued. Every session ended with little arms wrapping around my waist, with tiny voices saying, "Come back next week. Read again. You tell the best stories." And every time I left with tears in my eyes, the good kind, the kind that remind you that life still has sweetness left. Meanwhile, consequences were unfolding elsewhere. Michael filed for divorce. He told me later, voice steady but sad. "She didn't apologize. Not once. She blamed you and the lawyer and everyone but herself." Some hearts choose bitterness. Some choose healing. Lauren chose bitterness, and bitterness never wins. After the scandal at the charity dinner, many of her so-called friends pulled away. Word spreads fast in circles built on money and reputation, and few people wanted to be associated with a woman who tried to steal from her own mother-in-law. Her job put her on probation. Her invitation list shrunk. Her influence dried up like a puddle in the sun. That's what happens when you build a life on taking instead of giving. The fall is always inevitable, but I didn't celebrate it. I didn't dance over her downfall. I simply let life balance itself. As for Michael, he changed deeply. He called me every night, sometimes just to say, "I love you, Mom," sometimes to ask about the flowers I planted, sometimes to share what he made for dinner. He visited me every weekend, helping repair the cottage porch or bringing groceries even when I insisted I had enough. One Sunday, he brought lunch and said, "Mom, I'm starting therapy." I felt tears blur my eyes. "I want to understand how I let myself get pulled so far away from you," he said quietly. "I want to be better." And I believed him, because broken things mend faster with intention. We sat on the porch and watched the wind move through the trees. He held my hand, and I realized I hadn't lost my son. I had found him again, maybe stronger than before, more honest, more grounded, the kind of man I always hoped he'd become. And me? I rebuilt myself too, slowly, deliberately. I bought the cottage, legally, cleanly, with Davis guiding every step. It became my home, my safe place. I filled it with soft blankets, wooden shelves, framed photos, and homemade candles. Every corner held a slice of peace, and sometimes, on long afternoons, I'd sit on the porch and whisper to the wind, "You're never too old to start again," because age doesn't make us weaker. It makes us wiser, sharper, deeper. It gives us power we forget we hold. And when people try to underestimate us, we rise, slowly, quietly, but unmistakably. To you who is reading my story, I want to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. Wherever you're watching from, the US, Canada, the UK, the Philippines, India, or anywhere in the world, you are not alone. If someone made you feel small, if someone underestimated you, if someone tried to take advantage of your kindness, remember this: your dignity is yours, your story is yours, your strength is yours, and you can reclaim reclaim your life at any age, at any stage, at any moment. Now tell me, where are you watching from today? And have you ever had to rebuild your life after someone tried to break it? Share it in the comments, like, subscribe, and walk with me through more stories. My journey isn't over, and neither is yours.